It's Shakira with After 9. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys all about my first semester of nursing school, giving you guys some tips, giving you some tricks, hopefully giving you a little laugh here and there, and together we will get through this. I just want to provide some more information about my personal experience with my accelerated program, my clinicals, my classes. I know a lot of people have questions for me on how my program works. I know that I'm in the first cohort for my program, so there's a lot of questions that people don't have, they don't understand, a lot of things that I'm going to try and clarify today. Hopefully I answer all of y'all's questions. I've gotten a lot of questions about my program, so hopefully this video will provide you guys with some insight about what's going on. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay guys, so as y'all know, I am in an accelerated BSN program, and my program is actually a year long. It's actually a little less than a year, to be honest, because we started May 6th and our graduation is May 9th, but our last day of classes is like April 22nd or something like that. So a little less than a year. It's a very, very, very fast-paced program, and it is also hybrid. And when I say hybrid, I don't mean that you have lectures in person and then you come home and do your lectures. I mean that my program is completely online. All of your learning takes place online through our learning portal. You have your professors to use as references for, questions that you may have, or if you didn't understand something. But for the most part, you as a student are responsible for your learning. You're responsible for how much you learn, for what you learn, how well you understand it. It is not an easy program. I just want to get that out in the beginning, because I think everyone wants me to say like, you can do it, it's awesome. It's hard and it takes a lot of work. It can be done, obviously we're doing it, but it is hard. So that's out the way. So this first semester, I have 3 semesters. So we have a summer semester, a spring semester, and a fall semester. My school also starts cohorts in the fall and the spring. So if you start in the fall, you will graduate at the end of summer. If you start in the summer, you will graduate at the beginning of the summer. It's kind of weird. And if you start in the spring, you graduate in the fall, at the end of the fall. So they do admit people every school semester, so summer, spring, and fall. And then each of your semesters are broken up into 2 sections. Or sessions is what we call them. So you have your session 1 and your session 2, and each of those sessions are 7.5 weeks long. So it's the same length as a typical semester, like 15, 16 weeks. It's just broken up into 2 separate parts. So rather than taking, 5 nursing classes at one time, you're taking 3 nursing classes, or 2 or 3 nursing classes, but in a shorter time frame. So I hope that makes sense. So this semester we took, in total for the whole semester, we took, what did we take? We took fundamentals, we took health assessment, we took professional roles, part 1 and part 2, which is basically like a class to teach you about the, more of the paperwork side of nursing, the ethical side, the legal side, to get you in that frame of thinking. We took 1 and 2, and then we took population health and mental health. So my session A, or session 1, consisted of professional roles part 1, health assessment, and fundamentals. That was my first 7.5 week block of nursing school. My second 7.5 week block of nursing school, I had population health, mental health, and professional roles part 2. So first session, we had 1 clinical that went along with health assessment. And then second session, we had a clinical for mental health as well as population health. I got done with 5 classes, and I've already completed 3 clinical rotations. So it has been a fun semester. Okay, so basically our classes are pretty much online. You have assignments that are due every week. If you've ever taken an online class, you have modules that you're responsible for completing, and everything's given to you up front. So you do have a calendar that you can look at that has your entire session schedule, and it has everything on there, all your assignments for all your classes, your exams, everything will be given to you up front. So you at least can like plan to some extent. But you're responsible for all your learning. So I study with a partner. I have my friend that's also in my cohort, thank God, and we usually go and get coffee. We'll meet usually around like anywhere between 10 and 12 in the morning, and then we usually study until like 7 or 8 at night, sometimes longer, just depending on what we had to get done for that day. And we would take a lunch break. So we would give ourselves either a lunch break, an exercise break. We would try to get done early so we could go exercise, something that pulls your mind away from learning, because learning for that long of a time frame is like so mentally exhausting. Your body gets exhausted, your mind's exhausted, everything's exhausted. It's just not a good look. So we used to try to take at least an hour break within our day of studying. So we decided that we were going to treat it like a job, because that just seemed like the best way to do it. So, you know, if you have to be at work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, then that's what we would do for school. We would literally try to treat it like a job. Like we would have an allotted time every day that we would spend devoting our time to school. So it sounds nice at first, being like, oh my God, it's online, like it's hybrid, like I can like go to the beach and hang out, and you know, I don't have to show up and whatever. And in theory, that is very possible. In actuality, it's very possible, but it's all about how disciplined you're going to be as a student, because ultimately it's on you. So we did have like days that we did, you know, fun days that we could like go to the park and study or go somewhere fun, but it's hard. It's hard to just be like, I'm gonna go take a trip, knowing that you have like a ton of assignments to do. And then on top of that, your presence is required almost every single week that you're in school. So talk about that part. We went to school about twice a week, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, maybe Monday, Wednesdays. It kind of just depends. If we had an exam, we would probably go maybe 3 times a week, but we would go for lab days, simulation days, any of our like physical learning that needed to be done that was directly under the supervision of an instructor happened at our campus. So twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, your presence is required. You have to go in, do all your hands-on stuff. You know, you have to learn how to take blood pressure, and you have to learn how to do sterile, you know, urinary catheters, and you have to learn different techniques that you actually really need to learn from someone, is what we would come in and do. So we would be on campus. I'd say we get on campus maybe like 8 or 9 in the morning, and we would be done. We would take a break around like noon, and then we would be done around like 3, maybe 4. So it's like a full day that you're there. You're not there that often, so when you're there, you need to be there and be like in the moment, making sure you're learning and asking your questions while you can, because you have someone right there who's very knowledgeable. So it would be almost silly to not take advantage of those moments, because you don't have a ton of moments on campus. So when you are on campus, if you're anything like me, I'm asking all the questions. I'm like, what I need to know, let me know it, so when I go back home, I can study what I need to know, and I don't have to study a thing more. So, so that covers like the learning portion and the presence portion, because a lot of people ask me questions about like, how often do you go? What do you have to do? So I hope that answers that. I'm going to move on to our clinicals now. So we had clinicals for health assessment. We went to a surgical unit, which I think was like a really good choice for my school, because there's so much learning to be done on that floor. I mean, I think between the 6 of us, we saw like almost everything in our textbook that is like common. Obviously, like the rare things we didn't see, but very common things we saw. So that was really cool. I really liked being on that unit, and we were able to like interact. We followed a tech the first day, and then we followed a RN, and I think it is like amazing, amazing, amazing to get experience on all levels of nursing, because I don't know, I don't want to be a lazy nurse. I don't want to be the nurse that's like, that's not my job. And I don't think anyone should strive to be that. So appreciating everybody and working as a team and realizing that things get done best when you work as a team is, to me, the best way to go. Personally, I'm being biased because this is just my opinion. No one told me this. But so following a tech, and we got to do pretty much all of our fundamentals of nursing. So you know, we did like bed baths and trying to think what else we did. We made the beds, like making sure the room is like clean and safe. A lot of vitals. I can't even remember that clinical. It seems like it's so far long ago, and it was literally just 16 weeks ago. But basically all of your like fundamental stuff you will do. And I say, as a nursing student, it's up to you how much you learn. It is so intimidating going into the hospital because you're like, all these people are like licensed to be here. They're qualified, like certified. And you're just walking in like fresh out of lab, like, I passed my validations. Like, what can I do? But it is up to you as a student, like how much you learn. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Yes, if it's something that you can figure out, try and figure it out on your own, and then maybe propose the question, you know, with an answer, rather than just being like, what's that? 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 Like, you have knowledge. You have a lot of knowledge. And so use that knowledge. Like, don't just be like, hey, what is this? What do we do in this situation? How do we do this? Do I need to put gloves on? No, just do what you know that you like have been taught to do. And if you have like a very valid question, don't be afraid to voice your question, but don't ask questions that are just like, it would take a 5-year-old to answer, you know, like, oh, should I close the door? Well, yeah, he's naked, so that would be great, you know? So just like think. You have a lot of knowledge as a nursing student. It can be very intimidating. It can be very overwhelming, but use your knowledge and take advantage of clinical and lab time. Like, that is your time to get that experience. So when you graduate and pass your NCLEX, you know, hopefully when you get on the floor, you're not sitting there like, you'll actually be able to participate in your job that you've been hired to do because you've been doing it. And like, that is the time for you to make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you don't want to walk around the hospital just like, whoa, mistake here, mistake there. Like, be smart with the mistakes that you're making, and, you know, use your critical thinking. And if you're not sure about something, then yeah, of course, ask. But if you do happen to, you know, make a mistake in the sense of like, you didn't, you know, you changed the bed, but you forgot to change the pillows, or you know, or maybe you like left the room and didn't foam out or whatever, like something like that. But make your mistakes then, learn from your mistakes, ask questions, and like be responsible for your own learning, because nobody is like, you know, sitting here being like, so do you get it? Are you learning? Do you understand? No one, you know, no one's doing that. They're at work. Like, when you're following these nurses, like, they're actually at work. They are really doing things. When you're following, you know, the techs, like, they're at work. They're really doing things. These things really need to be done. So take it seriously and like assert yourself and try to be helpful. Like, don't just sit in the back and like watch your tech do everything and be like, oh God, I'm scared. I don't want to change poo, or, oh God, I'm scared. I don't want to like, no, do it. You're going to have to do it. You want to be the nurse, you're going to have to do it. So just do it. Okay, and so some tips that I have of how you can like keep your GPA up, and I've kind of already given you tips like throughout the video of just like things that, you know, you can do in each situation to make the most out of the situation, because you're paying for your education, so make the most of your degree. But some extra tips that I have on how to be successful in nursing school, at least in my first semester that this has worked for me, is to be organized. I made a whole entire video about organization in nursing school and staying on top of things, and like I cannot stress that enough. Like this program moves so quickly that you do not have time to figure things out like as you're going. You need to try and have them figured out for the next 3 weeks, so that way you're just going through the motions. I already know where I need to be, when I need to be, what I need to do, what needs completing, what I got to work on, what I got to review, what I got to study. Literally, because that is the only way that you're going to be able to take moments and like breathe and be a human. If you're constantly having to play catch up, you don't have time to breathe and live your life and be a human. And this is how people get burnt out, okay? Nursing school is hard. It is so hard. So if you don't have time to like go and take a breath, or, you know, be with your friends, or go have a margarita because I love margaritas, or whatever, you're gonna get burnt out. And the only way to stop yourself from doing that is to be on top of things. Don't, even though like I still do this, I try my best not to, but like try your best not to procrastinate as much as you can. If you can work ahead, that's better. I procrastinate. I wouldn't say I procrastinate, but I usually do things when they're due. So if it's due today, I'm gonna work on it today, and I'm gonna work on tomorrow's assignments tomorrow. But I've gotten really better, especially towards the end of this semester, of being like, what's due? Okay, let me go ahead and knock all that out, because it goes by fast. It really goes by fast. I can't like stress that enough. It goes by fast. Another tip that I have is take detailed notes. It is so easy when whether you're in a lecture with a teacher who gives you PowerPoints, or they don't give you PowerPoints, or you're responsible for your reading on your own and having to take your own notes. It's so easy to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and like gloss over it and not, you know, think about it. Like you read it and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like I would know that if I see it, and you know, you don't pay attention to it. But when you're taking notes in nursing school, think like a nurse. Like what does a nurse need to know in the situation? What would a nurse need to, how would a nurse know that this is what's happening? What would a nurse need to do to, you know, stop something from getting worse? And like, how can you do whatever you're doing in a therapeutic way? I mean, I feel like that is how you answer almost every single question in nursing school. Everything is about therapeutic communication, or doing things in a therapeutic way. So that's also another tip right there. Another tip I have for taking exams, because I was terrible at taking exams. Like I've done well on exams, and I've done not so well on exams. Like I've had grades in the high 90s, and then I've had grades in like the 70s. And you know, I think my professors are always like, so what happened? And I'm just like, I don't know, I thought I did great. I thought it was a great exam. I don't know. But I would say like some tips for nursing school studying is that there's so many videos on the internet. There's so many tips on the internet for how to approach nursing styled questions and NCLEX styled questions, that it really does not make sense for you to like go into it and be like, because I'm telling you now, I'm giving you the lowdown now, so you don't have to pull a me, because I'm telling you. Watch videos of people who have gone through and taken, you know, their NCLEX, and how do they approach the question, and like how do you, you know, get your mind into thinking like a nurse. Like I think I've watched so many videos of people being like, practice. Like practice questions are going to save your life, and they really do save your lives. Like the more questions you see, the more you start being like, okay, I know this, I get this. But in addition to practice questions, the rationale, if you get something wrong or get something right, read the rationale. Like the rationale will save your life. If you can understand why you're doing something, why it's important, you know, why do you do them in this order as opposed to that order, or why do I say this instead of saying that, or ask these questions instead of, like if you can read the rationales and understand the rationales, you'll be able to answer the question no matter how they phrase it, no matter how they trick you, no matter how, you know, whatever. You're always going to be able to answer the question, because that rationale is always going to be true. Like the rationale is not going to change. The reason why you do something doesn't change. So if you can understand the rationale behind why you're doing something, or why a question was correct and, you know, other answers were wrong, that'll save your life. I went through on one exam and did practice questions out the wall, and I read the rationales. I mean, I was like studying the rationales like they were my notes. And when I got to the exam, I was able to make an A on the exam because I'm reading the questions, and before I even look at the answers, I'm like, oh, I already know what you're gonna need to do and why you're gonna need to do it. So then I just looked for the answer that made the most sense. So practice questions, rationales, you're gonna be spot on. Some other tips that I have in nursing school is to, and I made a video about this as well, but not compete and instead collaborate. Like, you will do so much better working together with people and everyone trying to succeed rather than like competing with people. Trying to compete with people is exhausting. Compete with yourself. Hey, on this exam I made a 75. Whew, just made it. Next exam I'm gonna try and make an 80. This exam I made an 80. Next exam I'm trying to make an 85. You gotta compete with yourself, and you can't be like, oh, the class average is a 92 and I made an 83. An 83 is great, okay? An 83 is amazing. And you just have to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And the things that work for you, do them. And if it doesn't work for you, or it works for someone else but doesn't work for you, like, learn yourself. Like, learn the type of learner you are, learn how you learn how you retain, and what works for you, and then do it. And then bring those tips of what works for you to the bigger circle. Because then Susie Q may have a tip for you that you never thought of, that you're like, dang girl, that is fire, I'm doing that. And you may have a tip for John Brown, and you know, he's like, dang, thank you, this is amazing. You know what I mean? So collaborate, do not compete. And then my final tip for nursing school, because I know this video is getting long and I'm so sorry, and if you watch all the way to the end, just know I love you. But my final tip for nursing school is, do not be afraid to ask questions and say that you don't understand. If you don't understand something, it's not embarrassing. Why would you understand it? Why would you just get it? You're not a nurse and you haven't been a nurse. That's why you're here. You're here to learn. So ask questions. Like, I take advantage of my professors' emails, their phone numbers, whatever, however they're willing to communicate with me, I'm gonna communicate with them. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. It will save your life, and it'll help make things easier to learn. If you get an explanation for something and it makes no sense, be like, I appreciate you trying to answer that for me, I really do, but I still don't get it. And do whatever. Like, if you have to supplement your learning, like, supplement your learning. If you have to read an extra chapter or go watch a YouTube video or whatever it takes, don't be afraid to do that. Some things other people just get and you may not get, and that's okay. And some things you may get and other people just don't get. And some things you're not gonna understand. You're just not gonna understand. But don't quit. Like, push yourself to be like, okay, this didn't make sense, so I'm gonna go look up something else. And that didn't make sense, so I'm gonna go ask my professor. And she's talking a language I don't understand, so I'm gonna go ask Susie Q. Whatever you need to do, but don't quit. Like, I feel like nursing school gets the best of people, and you have people who are like, I tried my best, I put in so much effort, I studied, and I only made a 76. I know that because I'm that person, and like, my first instinct was to feel super defeated and just be like, I'm done with nursing school, like, I can't. But don't quit, don't quit. Do what you have to do and figure out what works for you, because I went from making a 76 on an exam to making a 92 on the next one. So it is very possible, but you have to figure out what works for you. I hope those tips were super helpful for you guys. I know this video was very long, but I just wanted to come on really quick and try and answer some questions that I've got, because I've gotten a few DMs about the program and everything. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any tips or any videos that you want me to make, go ahead and leave a comment below. Don't forget to thumbs up this video. And if you're not already subscribed, I don't know what you're doing, because this is the place to be. And I will see you guys on the next video.